Hello, how are you? Welcome. Today is another Friday of the live Q&A, and I am going to be talking today about something that I think sometimes people get a little bit sensitive about, but the secret wisdom of your pain points. And I know that this is something that you probably have heard about, you probably have experienced in your own life that oftentimes, whether it's our physical pain, our emotional pain, our mental pain, our spiritual pain, there's something connected, whether, it's physical to emotional, whether it's emotional to physical, whether it's mental to physical, there seems to be a little bit of intertwining. And so we're going to break it down a little bit, and I'm going to give you some tips for how you can navigate that when those things do come up, when you have the awareness that there is some sort of pain point for you, what that means, why it's popping up, and what you can do about it. And then we're going to do a little bit of Reiki at the end with some affirming thoughts just to help that energy kind of settle in so you can have a new relationship, whether it's with your body, whether it's with your emotions, your thoughts, just so you can open up to a little bit more healing in your life. So hopefully that is something that you can benefit from. If you've never been here, haven't met me before, I'm Mary from Rivers Journey Wellness. I am a holistic therapist, but I also integrate not only Reiki, I'm a Reiki master, teacher, and practitioner, but I also integrate coaching. So intuitive guidance, and we use a lot of neat tools. One of them, Oracle cards, that's kind of to my side, but it's something that I feel like this is the next step for myself professionally. I find a lot of value, obviously, in talk therapy. I've been a therapist for over 25 years, so I definitely see value in that. But when we think, or at least when I think about healing, when I think about growth and transformation, talk therapy gets us there very slowly because we work at the client's pace and we don't want to be too jarring or really throw a lot of information at people at the beginning. So we sort of just, walk with them alongside them at their pace. I have found, though, for myself personally, and then the clients that I have done more of that integrative work with, we can heal, grow, and transform quicker when we're bringing in other modalities. So that's why I kind of see myself moving out into that. And for anybody that's interested, later on, I'm going to be talking a little bit about a new program that I have. It's not a new program. It's a program that I've had for over a year, but this is the next season of it. So if anyone's looking for community or different ways of doing anything involving healing, growing, or transforming, you're more than welcome to get that information and maybe think about whether you want to join it or not. So, that being said, I like to sort of open this space with a little bit of smoke. I can call it cleansing, clearing, just getting the energy sort of in line with what we want to be working on today. And I was actually going to use a little bit of Palo Santo, but I think I'm actually going to go to my old standby of white sage. I'm just going to light a little piece of it. Not only is this to clear the energy, like I said, stuff that we've picked up over the week, during our day, maybe even stuff that we haven't even been aware of that's been around and lingering for us, things that have maybe been creating some pain points for us. Irritants. I like to call them irritants, just those things that don't serve us. So we're just going to use a little bit of that smoke, and I'm just moving it with a feather. This is a red-tailed hawk feather. This is the one that was gifted to Norbert, my dog, and I on our walk a while back. So it's kind of a treasure. It's a treasure I have. But this is something that I like to do, like I said, to sort of cleanse the energy, clear the energy. But it's also a message to our guides, our guardians, that we're asking for their support. We're asking for them to be present with us during this time. So that is something that I like to do. Everybody has their own sort of like traditions and rituals. That one is mine. So, and of course, if you ever have questions or you want to add something to the chat, feel free to put that in there. I try to be mindful of it and pay attention. Sometimes I get distracted, but it is there if you want to say anything or if you have any questions. Today, like I said, we're going to be talking about to me, I know people sort of are like, wisdom. There is wisdom in your pain points. As a therapist, when clients come in and tell me about what's been going on, their struggles, or it can be just stress. It could be something that they're finding a challenge, something that they're hoping to overcome, or just get new skills and strategies to move through. We always talk about those emotional pain points, but it's also good information to hear about any physical pain points. So today I'm not going to really differentiate too much with those because I feel like there's wisdom in both. And when other therapists are doing an intake, there usually is a little question, a little blurb about how is your overall physical health. And usually people don't kind of dive down or maybe drill down and get a little bit more information. I like to because I feel like it gives me a bit more information, especially like I said, I work with Reiki, and so I am thinking about that mind body spirit connection a lot more than I was 15, 20 years ago when I just did therapy. So research now shows, which is nice to have something that actually is like backing this up, but research now shows that the neural pathways that sort of the emotional states, something maybe like depression and our pain, actually share they are shared on that same neural pathway. So through the brain, through the spinal cord. So sometimes signals can cross or get overlapped or, intertwined. And sometimes emotional pain can manifest into physical pain. Sometimes there can be without injury, without cause. We really aren't really sure, why is this thing coming up? Why does my knee hurt, or my shoulder, or my back, or my head? I get these headaches or migraines or whatever it might be. So now we know from that there can be some, like I said, wires getting crossed. So it's interesting. This is something a little bit more modern with the research, but that, some of the statistics aren't super awesome. They're not great, but people with chronic pain, so maybe a condition that is more than just once in a while or once a month I get a headache or whatever it might be. People with chronic pain are 3 times more likely to also struggle with depression or other mood disorders. So that, chicken and the egg type of thing. But we also know that people with a history of depression and pain actually describe their pain as more intense than people that don't have depression or mood disorders. So that's sort of interesting data as well. We know also that people that have childhood trauma, childhood abuse, and even people that have it later in their teens or in their 20s or whenever throughout their life, they are going to have more, they'll be at more increased risk, is what they say. They'll be at increased risk for chronic pain and other mood disorders. And so we know that childhood trauma, childhood abuse does reshape the brain and the body. So again, they're just so interconnected. And I feel like those who kind of fail to understand the mind body spirit connection sort of discounts um, that we really need to treat somebody holistically and really need to look at what is the root cause, and not so much what is the symptoms, and let's treat just the symptoms, especially when it comes to something that's chronic, whether it's depression, anxiety, another mood disorder, or whether it's chronic pain. So this is newer research, right? But we know for thousands of years that there have been other people other than these modern day researchers who sort of recognized that mind body spirit connection is so important. It gives us so much rich information, rich details to how somebody's functioning. So when I talk about thousands of years, I'm really talking about um, Chinese traditional medicine is the thing that comes to my mind immediately, right? When we talk about, and it doesn't have to be just Chinese traditional medicine, but when we talk about something like acupuncture, right? That there's something about the awareness of that life force energy, so that chi, right? In Reiki, it's ki, and then we also know that there's prana, but they're all the same thing. It's all life force energy. And so if we have these meridians or pathways within the body that allows the chi, the ki, or the prana to flow in our body, we're going to have vitality, we're going to have health. But if we have a blockage, if we get stagnant energy, if we get depleted or overstimulated with that energy, then there's a disruption in the system, and there can be some emotional, things that come up. There can be some thought patterns that arise. There can be some physical aches, pains, disease, disorder that pops up as well, especially if things are like untreated. So we know that there is something to that. Research is just kind of catching up now, so that's absolutely fabulous. But I think it's interesting that if we don't have that flow, so from my perspective, and this is more from just energy psychology or energy medicine, if we don't have that flow of energy, we are going to start experiencing some issues. And I know that I've talked about before, we have this energetic body around us, and things can sort of get stuck, can get lodged in that energy, whether it's a thought, whether an experience, an emotion. And as it kind of stays with us longer and longer over time without us being able to resolve it or work through it, it does eventually make its way to the body. So we'll have some aches and pains. So this is really helpful for me when I'm thinking about things from an energetic standpoint. If somebody talks about an ache or a pain that they have, or a symptom, or even maybe a disease or a disorder that they've been diagnosed with, I can kind of think about, how does this correlate to life force energy flowing? Does it correlate with something like the meridians? Does it correlate with something like the chakras, maybe even? So if it does, we can sort of work on those things. If something needs to be supported, I can provide that support. If something needs to be processed through, we can talk about it. If we just need to witness an experience or an emotion or a thought, so that can be released from the physical body, that can do wonders for us. So I had pulled up a little bit of information. I was talking to one of my friends who she actually does provide acupuncture. And she was talking about how there's about 350, 360, something like that, points, acupuncture points, that she utilizes. But she said in traditional acupuncture, traditional medicine, there's like 2,000 points along the body that they can access for making sure that that flow of energy through the meridians, or those energetic pathways, are at their optimal rate, or whatever you want to consider it. 2000. So that was really interesting. I mean, when you think about the DSM, how we diagnose people with mental health, emotional, behavioral health disorders, there's not 2,000 of them, let me tell you. So it's really curious, how we sort of have watered things down. And, we do know, and this I know from Reiki, and this is probably, I know it's not probably, it definitely is true with acupuncture, acupressure, that sort of thing, that once we are able to support the body's response to stress in a way that we can soothe the sympathetic nervous system, we can just calm that fight, flight, or freeze response. We're going to see so many physical, emotional, mental, spiritual benefits. Physically, you're going to improve your circulation. You're going to sort of improve that nervous system's response so that not everything feels so activating that like I can, okay, this is a small problem. This isn't a huge problem, right? It's not a catastrophe. It's just something that's irritating that I can get through. Now, granted, we do have catastrophes in our life, and I'm not minimizing that piece, but we need to be able to discern, is this a big problem or is this a minor problem? When we're able to do that, we're able to troubleshoot, we're able to plan and use some strategies, some tools to help us navigate through that. The other piece is that when we're receiving something like acupuncture, acupressure, or even Reiki, we can release, the body releases. We don't consciously release them, but we are activating the release of endorphins into our system, and so that helps relax the body. When the body's in a relaxed state, it's able to heal. When the body's really relaxed and we're experiencing that release of the endorphins, we feel good, naturally good. But then we're also able to sort of build up, I always say it's like a muscle. We can build up the resistance for life's ups and downs so that it doesn't feel like so jarring when we encounter a struggle or something that feels challenging in our life, that we don't completely go into like a paralyzed state where we can't support any, forward movement for ourselves. So it's really interesting to me, the wisdom that, and I say a secret wisdom because oftentimes, oh, I have a headache, I'm going to take an aspirin or Tylenol or whatever, right? Or, oh, I have knee pain, I'm going to go to the physical therapist just to work on the knee pain. And I do have to say, I was working with just a great physical therapist for my shoulder. And so I'm going to use myself as an example. So I was trying to get into a little bit better of shape. And I told him, Tal, as old as time, middle-aged lady wanted to get in better shape, overuse the shoulder and hurt something, right? But it was interesting to me that the timing of when it started hurting, I had to really think about what could this also be related to. It's on one side of the body, not another. I'm right-handed. It was on my right hand side. It's my right shoulder. Now it's much better. But, we had sort of had that conversation about like, I was telling him, I do think that there's some emotion, there's some frozen emotion stuck in that shoulder. There's some things, some hurt or some pain or some things that I just haven't been able to process completely as part of this as well. Yeah, it could have been from the overuse because I was doing like the same like repetitive exercises because I'm a creature of habit, like every other day. And so I know that, can really do a number on the tendons, the muscles, that sort of thing. But we had this really nice conversation. So I will say that other people, besides energy medicine practitioners, do understand that. I feel like physical therapists understand that. I feel like probably the occupational therapists probably understand that. Some nurses, some doctors, I've worked with some DOs that I felt really understood that piece. Maybe not all of my doctors. I can say my PCP, not so much. She's pretty bad when it comes to that sort of thing. But with that shoulder pain, it was awareness of like, what do I need to pay attention to in my life? That's the secret wisdom. This was sort of the flag that went up that said, hold on, there might be something that you're missing, that you're not paying attention or you haven't been paying attention to, that you really need to start attending to. So the body sort of sends out these signals to us that like, hey, the system's not running well, right? Sometimes we need to reboot the system, but sometimes we just need to, kind of trouble spot and see, or troubleshoot and see what's going on in that spot of the body, that area of the body. So that was something that was really, telling for me. And I did a combination of both the physical therapy, like I said, but then also I did a lot of journaling, I did meditation. I feel that there's value in talk therapy. So talking it out with others, was really helpful for me. I wanted to hear a little bit of insight from other people, what they've heard, what they understand about energy, because everybody that's trained in different modalities will have a different interpretation of that. So, it was good for me to get a lot of information, from myself and from others to figure out what do I need to do to kind of create some healing in that area. So those pain points, whether they're physical pain points or whether they're emotional pain points. So obviously that came to my awareness came from that physical sensation, that physical pain. But you can also have awareness with pain points of emotional. Like I said, those two are sharing the same pathway, whether it's physical or whether it's emotional, are sharing that same pathway. So sometimes you'll have some sort of emotional reaction. So if you notice that you're getting short with others or irritated, or all of a sudden you're feeling, angry or even sad, there can be other emotions too. I mean, obviously, we can experience joy and happiness and bliss as well. And what does that tell us? Everything is kind of running the way that it should. But, if you're noticing like this emotion's coming up for me and I haven't seen this, all of a sudden I'm super jealous of my partner, or I'm super protective at work of the work that I am doing, or whatever it might be, there's wisdom in there. Why is this coming up for me now? Is a really good question to ask yourself to understand that secret wisdom. And I always say this, don't do this with judgment or criticism. Don't like pick on yourself or harp on yourself. Do this from a place of just curiosity and openness. Your body is trying to tell you something, and you need to just take some time to listen to it. That's all you have to do. Just observe and then make the decision or make a choice of like, do I need to do something about this? It's something that's creating pain or creating soreness, or it's feeling really depleting, you might need to do a little bit of work on there, and that's okay. But I think it's really important to just understand those things and to really be able to meet your mind, body, spirit where it's at and work for a solution together. So I don't know if other people have experienced, you probably have experienced an ache or pain that you couldn't trace back to something like, oh, I hit my head on the door and so now my head hurts. Okay, well, that's fine. But, sometimes things can come out of nowhere. This sort of came, I was feeling like stronger because I was working out more consistently. And so I'm like, oh man, how did I, did I do something funky with one of the exercises? Was I using too heavy of weights? I kind of went through that checklist of like what was happening. But when we have something, maybe like an upset stomach or a migraine or other weird aches and pains, it's good to just take a moment and why is this coming up for me now? Understand that wisdom that the body holds. And sometimes it's not going to tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, you need to pay attention to this. But through whatever mechanism, oftentimes we're not paying attention to the subtle things. So there probably was something subtle going on before this, right? There was probably something that was tapping on my shoulder and saying, like, hey, you're feeling this way, or you're experiencing this in your life. You need to kind of pay attention to this, send your awareness over there so you can support that. And I probably ignored it. Well, I didn't probably. I'm 100% sure that I ignored it because it was a really busy time, not only for work, but just what was happening in our lives. It was right around the holidays. And so, or it was before the holidays, but I know we were gearing up for just a lot of busyness. And so I wasn't attending, I wasn't listening. And so finally, my body was like, here you go. You got to pay attention to this because you're not going to be able to use your arm or your shoulder in the way that you normally do. So hopefully that makes sense for you to kind of assess your own body. Not that you have to be your own doctor, but I do feel like it's helpful to have that insight. And then obviously, if it's something that you need to bring to a doctor, I went originally to a orthopedic doctor for just to get their advice, and then they had sent me to the PT. So I did want to make sure, is there anything going on with the shoulder or the muscles or the tendons that I really need to know about? Did I tear something? Is there something wrong with the bone? Is there arthritis? What's going on? So you sort of do want to still rule out all those other things as well, but just know that there might be something else going on at the same time, or kind of a precursor to the physical pain. So I wanted to go over real quickly. I'd pulled this off of the stuff that I work with when I'm working with a client, either with Reiki or working with the chakras. So with Reiki, there's actually in my little workbook that I had that when I was trained, there's actually just documentation. This Dr. Hayasha had documented all of the physical ailments and where to send the Reiki healing, Reiki energy. So I liked that. I'm not going to go over all of that stuff because it's pages and pages of it. But then for the chakras, so when I'm doing chakra work with clients, there's certain aches, pains, medical stuff that pops up within the chakras. So some other way of having data to sort of assess how my body's functioning. So obviously this is when there's an imbalance in the chakra, when there's the balance of chakra, when the chakra is as open as it needs to be. It doesn't always need to be wide open. But when things are functioning well, you're not going to have these symptoms, obviously. So I'd written them down. I'll pull them up. So for the root chakra, which is your kind of around your tailbone, it's your first bodily chakra. Oh, there's feature. Well, we're not going to get into that, but the seven, I'm going to talk about the seven major ones. So the root, you can start to have some constipation, some digestive issues. You might have some issues around weight. You might have some fatigue, just feeling really lethargic. You can have some lower back pain. You can have some feelings of anxiety, feeling unsafe, feeling unwelcomed or unwanted, low self-esteem, being physically clumsy, like tripping on things. There can be also some issues in the feet, the ankle, the knee, and the lower hips. So, you can see, just as we're talking about this root chakra, that there are actual physical conditions and there's emotional mental conditions. So we have those that we need to sort of be addressing. And then there's also that, I feel like it's sort of a spiritual sense that I don't belong here, or I'm not welcome here. That's usually something that we feel like, I don't know where my place is in this world. So that can be indicative of either a depleted, a blocked, or stagnant energy within the root chakra. So kind of moving up to the next chakra, the sacral chakra, so a little bit below your belly button, just a few inches below your belly button. And this is not it's not technically your physical body, energetic body. But with the sacral chakra, you can start experiencing things like sexual dysfunction, infertility or fertility issues, low libido, but also addictions, hip pain, lower back pain. When people talk about like that sciatic nerve, I'm always thinking about like, oh, sacral, okay. But hormonal issues, I think I said fertility already, but any sort of like urinary issue. There can be emotional imbalances, mood disorders, definitely just not feeling like joy or fulfillment in your life, just feeling kind of like bored with life or just dissatisfied. So again, there's a mix in there, right? So moving up again to the solar plexus, this is a little bit above the belly button. This is your core, this is your center, this is your personal power. So this one will definitely see issues with like bloating, distension, digestive issues, so like IBS, leaky gut, that's often in there, but like can sometimes be like nausea, indigestion, again, fatigue, feeling tired. This one also has some interesting ones. So restlessness, agitation, being like irritated, but then also like unfocused, not really sure where to put your energy, difficulty in concentrating. And then some more specific ones of like gallstones, liver issues, and pancreatic disorders, being like diabetes. So if you can you can kind of know where that area is. You can think of all the physical parts of your body, any of the organs, the inner organs that might be impacted. And we know that there's this connection between our gut health and our mental health. So we really need to pay attention to that. So I know I just kind of talked about like the blanket emotional things, but the big broad ones. But when we think about any of that area, that can also be solar plexus, just not feeling like that's supported, or that's, just has some sort of imbalance in that. So sort of moving a little bit higher up, the next chakra is the heart chakra. It's kind of in the center. So you think of chest pains, you could think of any heart issues, lung issues, even like breast cancer. You can think of anything that has to do with, I have panic attacks, shortness of breath, that seems to come from that area. But then also like depression, insomnia. You're going to see that some of these overlap. They're in a couple different areas, but any sort of immune system issue or deficiency can start here. Any shoulder or upper back pain. So the heart chakra really controls this whole area, or is associated with this whole area. So anything from the chest to the shoulder, down the arm, the elbow, the wrist, the hands, that's all heart chakra. So when I was saying, oh yeah, this I feel like is associated with something, there was work that I had to do, not only with the heart chakra, but also with the throat chakra. I had to give voice to what was thoughts at that time, or what I was experiencing, and I had to resolve some things that maybe I wasn't ready to pay attention to, or I kind of know in that moment I was like, I can't. I'm too busy, right? I'm too busy to pay attention to what's going on with myself. Mm. Then what happens? You have a bad shoulder. So that is the heart, and then you move a little bit up further, and then you have your throat chakra. This one's always interesting to me because I also, as probably most people know, I also have an autoimmune disorder that starts with the thyroid. So you can have thyroid, you can have hormonal imbalances, obviously neck pain, anything in this area, throat issues. You can have chronic fatigue. That makes sense if it's anything with the hormones or the thyroid, right? And then anything that's jaw related, anything in the mouth. Did I already say throat? I think I did. But then it also kind of goes up, and it can be all the way to the ears. So anything in that area is impacted by the throat. But then also, like, if we're talking about the emotion piece, feeling like I don't have voice, feeling like I can't have my say, feeling like I don't have a lot of power within my world. So I'm not able to express myself in a way that's supportive. So anything there can be throat as well. Then we move up to the next one. That's your third eye chakra. And this one, so you're kind of thinking about like this part of the head. So any eye issues, migraines, headaches, sinus issues, definitely kind of it's like that mask, right? If you had a mask on, that's where those sinus problems could be. Any issues with the eyes, so cataracts, glaucoma, sty is even something as simple as a sty. But you can also have some bigger things like insomnia, or even seeing hallucinations. You can have issues again with the immune system. So, everything's sort of connected. So you can also have struggles with high blood pressure, adrenal problems, and I think hormones in a bunch of different places. So if it's like, oh, I'm having hormonal problems, it might not just be your sacral chakra. It can be other areas as well. That's when you need a little bit more details and like what's going on. And then the last chakra for the body, the crown, what's going on there. So again, you can have issues with, so going a little bit deeper, the pituitary gland, migraines, hormones again, chronic fatigue, hair loss, cognitive issues, just not feeling really clear-headed, or feeling like I'm having some like learning disability type of things, any sort of neurological disorders, nerve pain, Anxiety and depression we'll see up here too. So we'll see those in a bunch of different places within the body. So you can take that information. Again, you don't want to just self-diagnose or self-assess yourself. Bring it to somebody that maybe has a medical expertise, training, or background. But then, if you also want to think about that root piece, the root of what's going on, bring it to somebody that you can talk it through, like a therapist, or can do some healing for you, or show you how to do some healing with, soothing the body, soothing the sympathetic nervous system, like acupuncture, like acupressure, and like Reiki, of course. So just take that time to pause and reflect on what might be the underlying or the root cause for those pain points. And you'll be able to find out where there is some secret wisdom so that you can heal the mind, the body, the emotions, the spirit. So I know a lot of times people want to know, what can I do? So I found out this information, or I figured out where my trouble spots were. What can I do? And so, of course, I have a list. Of course, I wrote a list of things that you can do. There are things you're going to see like, oh, yeah, this is stuff that you've talked about before. It has, or it was, it will be. It's stuff that you, for living your best life, for feeling your most balanced, for feeling your most connected. These are the things that you want to be doing. So being aware of your emotions, having a way of communicating or witnessing what is going on within yourself, within your emotions. So this can be journaling, this can be meditating, this can be walking in nature or just being in nature, time spent out there. You can have a little time, a little salve to any emotional stuff is taking time to reflect with gratitude on what you've been experiencing in your world, as opposed to just the stuff that feels like a struggle or a pain, right? So I think that awareness is really huge. I think we gloss over that all the time, and we just got to keep going. We got to stay on task, or we got to stay on time, or whatever it is. And we don't give ourselves that permission to just pause and see what's going on, to check in with ourselves. So if you don't have a mechanism for doing that, or you're not really sure how to journal or meditate, there's so many resources, and you can always reach out to me, and I can give you some direction and some guidance. There's some stuff on most of these topics on my website as well, reversejourneywellness.com. You could go there and check things out for free. One of the things that's really helpful also is to move your body mindfully. So when we have some emotion that's stuck in the body, when we have some thoughts that are stuck, we want to have another mechanism for just releasing that. So this can be just as simple as taking a walk. This could be something, a class like yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong, something that's going to help move the energy within the body. But any sort of exercise that, is at your pace, at where you're at physically, what you're able to do, but just trying to move your body with intention, trying to get those thoughts and the emotions, flowing, right? Moving. But also I want to encourage people to take care of yourself wholly. So get enough rest. Think about work-life balance. Definitely you want to build your social support network, so you feel like you have people that you can talk to or can lean on when you're going through a difficult time. You definitely want to make sure you're doing those basics, like drinking enough water, eating nourishing foods. We can't eliminate the joy and the fun in life. So make sure that you have time for play. Um, get creative, tap into your creative outlet, whatever that might be. Just another way of kind of expressing and expressing ourselves, exploring our world is really important. I think breaks for just breathing, for just checking in with ourselves and allowing some of that energy to release or to dissipate, anything that's feeling like pressured or stressed, just giving it some space to kind of dissipate, like I said. Um, I know people don't want to hear this, but I always say, like, you really need to keep your mood altering substances in check. And this includes sugar. caffeine, nicotine, right? Like things that we typically don't think of as like drugs. They are. We want to limit alcohol and other mood altering substances, other drugs. So it just messes with the body, messes with the mind, messes with the emotions. And then it's hard to pinpoint like what the actual issue is. And then always you want to do extra self care, whatever your self care activity is, whatever you find to be healthy and supporting. So um, those are my big tips for how to manage that. I was going to do a little bit of Reiki and a little bit, Reiki infused meditation so we can have some affirmations for ourselves to go within, to go into that place where we have a little bit of softness and openness for the mind and the body to be connected, that place of, where the intersection also is spirituality. So, if you would like to participate in a little bit of Reiki infused meditation, you are welcome to. There's nothing that you need to do or to know about. Just affirm for yourself that you're open to receiving. It's as simple as that. And I'm going to invite you. I always take a deep breath before I get into a state of relaxation or trying to work on that state of relaxation. I'm going to bring my microphone a little bit closer because I'm going to talk quiet. But if you're somewhere that you can sit comfortably or even lay down, that would be perfect. Just start noticing your breath. Taking a few deep inhales through the nose and deeply and fully exhaling through the mouth. If you're not comfortable with your eyes closed, you don't have to keep them closed. It helps me to tune things out. Helps me to focus and go within. We're just beginning to relax the body. Want to relax the mind. Can't stop all of our thoughts, but we can slow them down. If you have an intention about understanding the secret wisdom of your pain points, you can set that intention now. And if you don't, that's okay. I am going to light a little bit of Palo Santo just to help with that. I like this also, that mind-body connection, our senses, bringing all of our senses together. It's that earthiness. So I'm going to send you some Reiki. Allowing the mind to open up to the body. The body to be connected to the mind. And you can just listen to the affirmations. There's nothing that you have to do. Your mind, your body, your spirit will know what resonates, what you need to pay attention to without you putting your conscious awareness on it. But may I be open to deeply listening to the messages from my body. May I release any struggle or resistance to the messages from my body. May I recognize and appreciate all the work my body does for me on a daily basis. May I be patient with my body when it sends me messages of pain or distress. May I be gentle with myself when difficult or challenging emotions arise. May I honor my needs by taking time to care for my mind, body, and spirit. May I support my body's ability to heal itself by seeking out help and guidance to soothe the pain. May I see that I'm more than my pain. May I be open to healing. May I cultivate a peaceful relationship with my mind, body, and spirit. Just in these few moments of quiet, you're actually able to calm the mind, calm the body. You're able to activate the part of your nervous system that tells the rest of your system, it's okay, we're safe. We move away from the sympathetic nervous system, we activate the parasympathetic, we slow down the heart rate, our blood pressure probably goes down, the body relaxes. We're able to allow the body to do what it needs to do to repair and to heal itself. When we quiet the mind, we're able to allow for other thoughts other than the pressures and the stress. We feel connected. We feel whole and complete because we're bringing that mind, body, and spirit together. There's wisdom, secret wisdom in your pain points. And I encourage you to be open to whatever comes up to your awareness, whether it's a physical symptom whether it's an emotional, mental, or even spiritual. Take some time with that. And we can go ahead and release this moment. Just bringing our attention back to our day, probably things that we need to do and accomplish, right? But if it feels like you're needing a little extra support, if it feels like you aren't really sure what your next step is for healing, for growing, for transforming, I invite you to consider joining my Soul Journey Spring membership. So it's just a seasonal membership where we incorporate group coaching, but then also sessions of healing and integration. So we'll be doing Reiki, we'll be doing guided meditations, we'll be doing other activities that will help bring together the themes of energy, but then also what we're working for, what we're working on for ourselves. It kind of brings all of that together so that we are really able to get clear on our next steps, how to create those next steps to make it feel actionable, to make it feel inspired, so that we can have those things that we're hoping to experience or manifest into our lives during the spring. It's going to be a time of tapping into abundance. So if it feels like you've been struggling with lack and scarcity, this would be a perfect group for you. We do most of them on Zoom, but my Friday live Q&As, these Q&As are for this group. So sometimes clients will write in their questions or concerns, or they'll tell them to me, when we're talking, and that's what I address on this. And then we have, whatever the topic, whatever we're working on. So there's opportunities to just meet in different ways. So if that's something that you're interested in right now, I have an early bird discount going on for it's a few more days, probably about a week, where the 3 months are at a reduced price, and then it goes back up to what the normal price is going to be. So if you're interested, head over to my website, riversjourneywellness.com, check it out. Otherwise, I know there's some links above. I think I put it in the description. So above meaning up by who I am. If you click on who I am, get a little information about myself. So if this is something, you're welcome to join. This is open to any woman that's just looking, like I said, to integrate new ways of healing, new ways of supporting, for guidance. We're moving that divine feminine energy and that sacred masculine. We're trying to find a nice balance for that. And we do fun things like oracle card pulls as well, to just understand different aspects of ourselves and our energy. So lots of neat things that I think go into this program. And I do feel it's pretty unique because of my background in counseling. This is something that is definitely psychology based and trauma informed, just to be able to have awareness of, like, what do we need to do to create that change, that positive change in our life. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would love for you to join us. There's a few spots left, definitely. And just to let you know, I will not be here next Friday. I will be back on April 5th for another live Q&A. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to put them into the chat or the comment section later. I know I've been in that process of like growth, and I always forget to tell people, if you found this helpful, please like or subscribe. Pass it on to anyone that you think could benefit from this. Obviously, that would help me get my message out there, but it also will help people if they're looking for a little bit more information, especially about, like, why is this coming up for me? Why do they have their shoulder pain, or whatever it might be? So I feel like we're kind of in this together. So anything that you find helpful, that you think somebody else will find helpful as well, pass it along. Obviously, that's a good thing. So if there's nothing else, nothing going on, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate that you're spending your time with me. And I look forward to us connecting again in 2 weeks. So take care.